The land of Gilead baked beneath the relentless sun, a country of stone, thorn, and wind. Among its people was a man named Gilead, whose wealth was great and whose name carried honor. Yet even among honorable men, shame sometimes finds its way in through hidden doors. From Gilead's house came a son born of a woman who was not his wife, a harlot whose name time refused to remember. The boy's name was Jephthah. From his youth, Jephthah felt the sting of difference. His brothers, sons of Gilead's wife, looked upon him with disdain. To them, he was not truly one of them. He was the reminder of a wound, a secret, a whisper in the village. And when their father passed and the inheritance came to be divided, they drove him out. "You have no part in our father's house," they told him. "You are the son of another woman." No word he could speak could change what blood denied him. Jephthah left with nothing but his staff, his courage, and the ache of rejection pressing against his chest. The road eastward stretched before him, hot and silent. He walked until he reached the barren land of Tob, a place for wanderers, fugitives, and men without homes. There Jephthah began anew. Others like him gathered around, rough men, exiles, broken souls, drawn to his strength and fierce will. What others had called shame, these men called leadership. Over time, Jephthah became their captain, a man whose presence commanded both fear and loyalty. Years passed, and the land of Israel again trembled under the shadow of war. The Ammonites rose up against Gilead, crossing the borders with chariots and fire. Villages were burned, crops destroyed, and the people cried out for help. But Gilead had no strong man to lead them, no warrior to stand at the front of battle. Then someone whispered the name they had all forgotten, the name of the son they had cast away. "Jephthah," they said, "the mighty one who dwells in Tob." The elders of Gilead gathered their courage and traveled to Tob, their robes dusted from the long road, their faces lined with worry. When they arrived, Jephthah met them outside his encampment. He was older now, his shoulders broad, his eyes steady and unyielding. Around him stood his men, silent and watchful. The elders bowed, but Jephthah did not smile. "Did you not hate me," he said, his voice low, "and drive me out of my father's house? Why come to me now when you are in distress?" The oldest among them stepped forward. "It is true," he said, his voice shaking with humility. "We cast you out, and the Lord has judged us for it. But now we turn to you. Come with us, fight against the Ammonites, and you shall be our head over all the inhabitants of Gilead." Jephthah's gaze drifted toward the horizon, the hills that once rejected him, the soil that had refused him rest. His heart burned with old memories, but something deeper stirred within him: purpose. "If I return," he said slowly, "and the Lord delivers the Ammonites into my hand, then I shall indeed be your head." The elders swore it before God, and Jephthah returned with them. News of his return spread through the land. The man once rejected now rode at the front of Israel's armies. The people watched in awe as he prepared them for battle, and even those who once despised him could not deny that the hand of God seemed upon him. The night before the battle, Jephthah withdrew from the camp. The stars blazed above him like 1,000 burning eyes. He knelt upon the rocky ground, his sword laid beside him, his hands trembling slightly as he lifted them to heaven. His voice broke the silence, quiet but resolute. "O Lord God of Israel," he prayed, "if you will indeed deliver the Ammonites into my hands, then it shall be that whatever comes forth from the doors of my house to meet me, when I return in peace, shall surely be yours, and I will offer it as a burnt offering." The vow hung in the night air, heavy as iron. Jephthah rose with the certainty that heaven had heard. At dawn the trumpets sounded. The Ammonite armies poured across the plains like a flood of bronze and dust. Jephthah led his men with a cry that shook the valley. The clash of swords filled the air, and the ground trembled beneath the weight of battle. For hours the fight raged. The sky turned gray with smoke, and the cries of the fallen rose like a bitter hymn. But the Lord was with Jephthah. One by one the Ammonite strongholds fell. From Aroer to Minnith and even to the plain of the vineyards, 20 cities fell before Israel's might. The enemy broke and fled. Victory belonged to Jephthah. When he returned to Mizpeh, the people came out singing. Children ran through the streets waving palm branches. Women threw flowers upon the road, and men shouted his name. Jephthah rode home weary but filled with triumph. His heart swelled with gratitude toward God, until the moment that would break him forever. From the door of his house came music, laughter, and the rhythmic sound of a tambourine. His only child, his daughter, his joy and his pride, came dancing out to meet him. She wore a white garment embroidered with gold thread. her face glowing with innocence and delight. She twirled in the dust, her laughter rising like sunlight. "Welcome home, my father. You have triumphed. The Lord has given you victory." Jephthah stopped. His world collapsed in an instant. His knees trembled, his sword slipped from his grasp and fell into the dust. He tore his garments and cried out with a voice of anguish that silenced the crowd. "Alas, my daughter, you have brought me very low. You are the one that troubles me, for I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back." The girl's laughter faded. She looked at him, confusion clouding her joy. Then, as understanding dawned, her eyes softened. She stepped closer and placed a hand on his trembling arm. "My father," she said gently, "if you have made a vow unto the Lord, do to me according to what you have promised, for the Lord has avenged you of your enemies." Jephthah turned his face away. His heart felt torn in two. The victory that had lifted him from shame now became a burden heavier than exile. His daughter was his only child, no son, no other heir. And yet she spoke with peace, not fear. "Only this I ask," she continued. "Let me go up to the mountains for 2 months with my friends, that I may mourn my virginity and the life I will never live." Jephthah could not speak. He only nodded. The girl turned and walked away with her companions, her figure growing smaller against the hills. For 2 months she wandered through the mountains, her songs echoing through the valleys, songs of youth, of farewell, of quiet courage. The wind carried her voice down to the villages, and the daughters of Israel wept as they heard. Night after night she lifted her eyes to the heavens, her tears glimmering like dew upon the stones. She did not cry for death itself, but for the dreams she would never know, the husband she would never meet, the children she would never hold. And yet her spirit did not break. Her faith stood firm as her father's did. When the time came, she returned home. Her face was calm, her eyes bright with peace. "I have returned, my father," she said softly. "Do unto me according to your vow." The air was still. The people gathered but spoke no word. Jephthah's hands trembled as he prepared the altar. The flames flickered in the morning light. His daughter knelt before him, her gaze lifted heavenward. Her lips moved in silent prayer. The wind stirred her hair, and the fire's light played across her face. Jephthah whispered, "Forgive me, my child." She smiled faintly, and then there was silence, the kind that lasts beyond breath, beyond sorrow, beyond time itself. From that day forward, the daughters of Israel went up year after year to mourn the daughter of Jephthah, 4 days in every year. They remembered her not with cries of rage, but with songs of reverence, for she had kept her father's vow and honored the Lord with her obedience. Her name was spoken with tenderness, her memory wrapped in sorrow and light. Jephthah lived on for a time, a man changed by both glory and grief. The people of Gilead honored him as their leader, yet he remained apart, his heart forever bound to the vow that cost him everything. At twilight, he would sometimes walk alone among the hills where his daughter had wandered, listening for the echo of her song. The wind that brushed his cloak felt like her presence, a whisper of forgiveness. He had gained victory, power, and a name remembered in Israel, but the price had carved deep into his soul. In his final days, Jephthah would look toward the mountains as the sun set in crimson hues and murmur softly to himself. "The Lord is just," he would say, "and every vow is sacred." His story became a warning and a lesson, a tale told by fathers to sons, by mothers to daughters, of a man who rose from rejection to greatness, but whose zeal outpaced his wisdom. And when he was gone, the hills of Gilead held his memory. Travelers said that sometimes on quiet nights, a faint sound could be heard across the valleys. A girl's soft song carried by the wind, mingled with the sigh of a warrior who had once promised too much and loved too deeply to ever forget.